ברכי נפשי es Hashem.
We're about to begin a new chapter, a new avenue. This is chapter 8, different. Chapter 7, Klal Gadol, the big chapter, dealt with the measurement of food that obligated the person or make him responsible or liable for carrying on Shabbat. We have the two main categories, which is intentional, schila, unintentional, sin offering. But it's all involved with food. Now we're dealing with liquid part, which is the whole liquid and subsequent liquid materials in conjunction to carrying from one domain to another. Mishnah begins on page 76b. Hamotzi yain kedei mezigat hakos. If someone carried a undiluted wine in the level of filling the cup. So the GEMARA later explain what size of cup we are talking about. גמיעת דבש כדי ליתן על הכתית. If the חלב כדי גמיעה, דבש כדי ליתן על הכתית. חלב meaning the milk of a kosher cow in the level of gmi'ah, level that an average person can drink. Honey, in order to put on the if you have those animals that people usually ride on, like horse and camel. So sometimes it's a result of overused, the back is wounded with different things. So you put some type of cream or something like that in order to not only assuage the pain, but also to make it more convenient for a person to sit on that animal. Shemen, כדי לסוך בו איבר קטן. Olive, in order to use a small limb. And the big question is, what is איבר קטן? The GEMARA later explain. מים כדי לשוף בהם את הקילו. If you're using a water in order to make it some type of medicine, especially ancient medicine, for the eye, in order to heal the eye. Sometimes it's all kind of external eye disease or some type of eye disease that needs some type of cream. ושאר כל המשקים ברביעית, and the rest of the liquid matter, it's used a רביעית of log, which again we talk later. It's just the foundation, the Mishna. וכל השופכים ברביעית, and all the rest of some type of water using רביעית, which is 1/4 of a log. Again, later we explain what type of use we have with that. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon disagree, and soon you see that Rabbi Shimon disagree in two different halachot. Kulan, meaning all of this, which is wine, milk, and honey. ברביעית, that's the size of רביעית הלוג. ולא נאמרו כל השיעורים הללו, and all these measurements were only stated, which is anything for less than רביעית, that Tanakama said, yain, מזיגת הכוס, חלב, in order to גמיעה, דבש, to put on the, so all of that, אלא למצניעיהם, all of that for those who store them. So only if someone use it and then he carry them on Shabbat, he is liable. So here you see two halachot that Rabbi Shimon disagree with Tanakama. Number one, in regard to a person did not carry them. So in other words, he since most of the people carry, it's carry and important for them to carry. If you remember last time we discussed about the importance or not, So he said that regardless, if it's revi'it, the person is liable. The second, he said, also the person himself has this type of measurement, which means the other people, even if it's a large amount, larger. Rabbi Shimon said, even a small one. Tana. Now we're going to zoom in and explain each of these. Tana kedei mezigat kos yafe. So we learn in the Mishnah, and here they said tosefta, that the amount is that one carry out undiluted wine is only liable if he carries a measure equivalent to the wine typically diluted for a cup. So now the big question is, what is kos yafe? What is the definition of kos yafe? So if you go by Reb Chaim Naeh, it's 86. Chazon Ish is 150. Some say that the numerical value of kos, it's 86. And I don't remember the Chazon Ish. I think it's kos yafe or kos gadol is 150. But the point is, what is considering kos yafe, that something, it's the amount that's considering good. So now we're going to a category, umay kos yafe. So what is the meaning when we use the kos yafe? So they said kos shel bracha. It's applied to a cup, significant cup, that we use to for bracha of wine, which is the kos, that the cup we use for birchat hamazon, for the grace after meal. So he said, Rashi explained to us here beautifully, and he said that there are 10 things involved with the kos yafe, kos shel bracha, and here we zoom in to 6 that's applicable. Rashi used the GEMARA in Brachot, GEMARA that we study in Brachot 51. The GEMARA said that they need to have Rashi itur ve'ituv hadacha ushtifa chayu meleh. So it means itur. So you take the cup and you have around people who learn Torah. It's like you go to those Hasidic rabbis. They have the Kiddush cup, and they have small cups around the Kiddush cup, and they give it to all the people who are around. The Rebbe made the blessings, and everyone gets part. So that's kos shel bracha, the people who utar, or some say that it's applied to the cup itself, that it's making beauty when you have all those cups around. The second one, make kos yafe, it's called, Rashi said, ituf. That either the one who make the bracha put the talit, or if you go to some rabbis, you see that they cover the head. Number 3 is hadacha. You need to clean the cup inside before you serve it. Number 4 is shtifa. You need to wash it from outside. Number 5 is chai. In those days, they used to have, it was impossible to drink wine that is undiluted. So sometimes it turned like 75% of the cup, 3/4, was water. Because otherwise people cannot drink it. So basically here, they said at first you need to put the undiluted wine. That's first. And then when we go to the second bracha of the grace after meal, you combine it with water. So here, there are those who said chai, it's like fresh. It's like in Yiddish, frisch. It's like very fresh. So that's so he put the wine directly from the barrel, very close to the time that he need to make a blessing, and for the purpose of blessings. Then number 6, Rashi said here, maleh, which means he filled up the cup fully, like in Havdalah it's overflow, but in Kiddush it's just fill up the cup. So that is called kos yafe. It's a nice cup that you did all these 6 things. The truth is that there are other 4, which is he take it in 2 hands and put it in the right hand, and he lifted, and he looked at the cup, and some said, if you remember, that he then give it to each of the people that they drink after he finished the blessing. But that's not part of the category of kos yafe. Kos yafe, according to Rashi, is this 6. Amar Rav Nachman, אמר רבא ברבוע, כוס של ברכה צריך שיהיה בו רובע רביעית, which means that's the minimum measurement of cup, blessing cup, כדי שימזיגנו ויעמוד על רביעית, in order to combine the 3/4 of the water, and it will be diluted wine, so people can drink it. And as I said, according to Reb Chaim Naeh, it's 86, and Chazon Ish is 150. Now we bring a Mishnah to prove that. So the Mishnah said, Amar Rava, Af Anan Namei Tanina, 77a. So now what we learn also in the Mishnah, Hamotzi Yain Kedei Mezigat HaKos. If someone carries out an undiluted wine, only is liable out of measure of equivalent to the wine typically diluted for a cup, V'tane ala kedei mezigat kos yafe. That apply to the diluted for a significant cup. V'ktane sefa, we learn the second part of the Mishnah, Ush'ar kol hamashkin birvi'it. And all the rest of the liquid part, it's revi'it. It's like 1/4. So, in order to make it good for drinking, that's the amount that we need to have. That's what Rashi said. So, Rav Nachman, in the name of Rav Avua, teach us two important principles. Number one, that the measurement of kos shel bracha, making a blessing, is revi'it. And number two, it's anytime you have a wine, you have to have wine and then 3/4 of water in order to make it possible. So, but that's not from the Mishnah. The Mishnah is just the first part, the revi'it. V'Rava letamei, Rava explained, Amar Rava, kol chamra de lo dare al chad tlat maya lav chamrau. That's exactly what we said. Rava said that any time of any type of wine that does not hold 1 part wine diluted by 3 part water is not wine. Wine must be significantly, in a way, potent, available for drinking, so people can drink it. If they don't have the 3/4 water, so it's too strong for average person to drink. Amar Abaye shtei tshuvot badavar. He said there are 2 things that I responses to what you said that it's disagree. Number 1, Chada Ditnan, we learn in Nida, Tractate Nida, page 19. They said that one of the things that apply to the marot, they said vehamazug, shnei chelkei mayim ve'echad yain min hayain hasharoni. So here he speaks about the colors when it's come to. So he compared it to the wine, and he said 2 parts of water and 1 part of wine from the wine of the Sharon. It's the vines which grow in the coastal area of Eretz Israel. It's called the Sharon. So it's received a greater quantity of the rainfall, and basically it created also in the grapes a different colors, different quality, etc. Ve'od, the second one, is Maim Bakad Mitztarfim, and it's also the water in a jar and yet joined together. So it's mitztarfin, it's a join with the wine. So the wine that is carried out is less than what the required measure and not fit for drinking. So Amar le Rava. So Rava responded to him, to these 2 questions. He said to Abaye, Ha deka amar shnei chelkei mayim be'echad shel היין מן היין השרוני. It's what you prove from the Tractate Nida. He says yain sharoni lechud derafi. The yain of the Sharon, it's separate because it's a very weak wine, so they have to use the 2/3 of water, and it's not what we said earlier. They the 3/3. Iname hatam mishum chazuta, aval etama bayet fei. Over there in the Mishnah Nida, they speak about something that make her nida. So it's dependent on how they diluted. So they use the term of 2/3 because if it's getting close to yellow, it's already looks like mar'et ha'or. The Torah said that it's considering pure. But here, in order to make the wine good for average person for drinking, it's different. Even yain from Sharon, you need more water. So it's only make it. It's called in Hebrew arev lachech, that the people can drink it if they have 3/4 of water. The second point that you said, Rabbi responded to Abayin, he said the ka'amart mayim bakad u'mitztarfim. When he told me that the water is in a jar and you can combine, it's not. Why? Le'inyan Shabbat, when it's come to carry it on Shabbat, mide de chashiv ba'inan v'ha name chashiv. You remember we said the condition that anything that was in a mishkan, in a tabernacle, and it's considering important. So then but here when he carries, it's considering something important, because when you have the measurement of revi'it, of the quarter, it's considering a measurement that it's already important, because you need to add water to that. So if he is not carrying with the wine water, he's still liable. That's what Rashi said. Again, you have to remember, in those days it wasn't those big companies worldwide that making this wine, and they make it sure that the average person can drink it, and sometimes give you instruction over the bottle, etc. Over there it was the wine, original wine that they made in those days with no other things, and basically if it was undiluted, average person cannot drink it. Another thing in the wine, they said Tana Yavesh, the wine has to be dry, which means if the wine somehow turned to be dry, and it looks like a instead of wine is something like stick, pieces. If you look sometimes at wine, you see on the bottom, especially for old wine, pieces. So he said bekazait, that it's in that olive bark. Why? Because originally it was revi'it, and then when he's in that situation, it turned to be a size of the olive bark. Divrei Rabbi Natan, that's what Rabbi Natan hold. Amar Rav Yosef, Rabbi Natan v'Rabbi Yosef v'Rabbi Yehuda amru davar echad. They both said that if it turned in that situation from a liquid to something that it's like a pieces there, it's still the size of olive bark. Rabbi Natan ad Amaran, Rabbi Natan the way we explained, ורבי יוסי ברבי יהודה דתניא, רבי יהודה אומר, שישה דברים מכולי בית שמאי ומחומר בית הלל. It was most of the disputation between בית שמאי and בית הלל, we go by בית הלל. But there are 6 things here that we go in the way that בית שמאי rule leniency in a lenient way, and בית הלל are more stricter. Where? So he said the first one, דם נבלה, blood that come from a dead animal. בית שמאי מטהרים, בית שמאי said that it's pure, בית הלל מטמאים, בית הלל said that's impure. אמר רבי יוסי ברבי יהודה, אף כשטימאו בית הלל או טימאו את אדם שיש בו רביעית, even the time that בית הלל said that it's impure, it's only in the size of רביעית, and we explained many times what is רביעית, right? 1/4, right? הואיל יכול לקרוש ולעמוד כזית. The reason is because it can be dry and be in a size of the kezait, which is the olive bark. So it's very important to know that there are certain birds, there are certain things that they have very minimum amount of blood. So here, when we're talking about measurement of blood, so we talk about certain blood that come out of dead animals that become impure. The Torah said in the Vayikra, in the end of Shminid, I think it's chapter 11, that is a Shmona Shratzim, that there is 8 categories, that it's different. But other than that, he speaks about the minimum amount of blood that comes out, there has to be Revi'it. Amar Abaye, Dilma Lohi. Rabbi said, maybe, perhaps that's not the case. Why? Ad kan lo kama Rabbi Natan hacha debai Revi'it ela biyain diklish. Rabbi Natan said that quarter of log require only here with regard to wine which is liquid. Aval bedam desmich kezait lo bai Revi'it. But he said, but in the blood, which is different, it's become, it's not thick. So in order to produce a olive bark, so you need a quarter of a log. It's not required. So less than a quarter of a log blood, it's already an olive bark. That's apply only to a blood that it's how do you say the opposite of thin blood?
Those who are coagulated.
Yes,
that is very hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think okay. Anyway, I think they use the word viscous or something like that. That it's opposite than the thin blood. But anyway, avalya the klish. But the wine, that it's different, that it's thick. So kezait have yoter meravi, the amount of olive bark on Shabbat, it's olive bark, the more than quarter of a log of wine is required. V'chi mapek pachot mikezait li chayav. And if he carries one out less than an olive bark on Shabbat, so he is liable. So there is no proof that the two Tanaim, they are parallel. Now we go to the Chalav. We said in the Mishnah that milk, kedei gmi'ah. Milk, it's equivalent with you can swallow into a gulp. So Ibaylehu, now we're talking about a little bit the Hebrew language. It says kedei gmi'ah with aleph or kedei gmi'ah with ayin. Now we're going to several places in the Torah that use aleph and ayin interchangeable. Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Agmininaim mayim bikadech. When Eliezer said to Rebecca, he said to her, this is in Genesis 24, give me to swallow, please, a little water from your jug. So use the aleph, hagmi'ini. That's the proper. Ibayaleu. So now it's similar. We have this similar dilemma among the sages when it's come to aleph and ayin. 77b, gar'inin or gar'ainin. So we use the word gar'inin, the correct version, with aleph or with ayin. Amarav barula v'nigra me'erkecha. When we talk about sdei achuzah, this is Leviticus 27. So it's a description of, so they said it should be subtracted v'nigra from your valuation. So again, it has to be with ayin. Third one is speaking about incense on the Yom Kippur. They said omemot or omemot when it's come to a fire. So he said, Amar Yitzchak bar Avdimi said, Arazim lo amemu began Elohim. They said in Ezekiel, the cedars in the garden of God could not hide it. So again, we see that he is with ayin. Ibayelu, the fourth question, it's all aleph and ayin. Me'amtzin or me'amtzin. This is applied to if find a dead body on Shabbat, so part of the obligation is to close the eyes of a dead body. So they said later, in Kuf Nun Aleph, in 151 page, they said that, so they, מאמצין או מאמצין, אמר רבי חייא בר אבא אמר רבי יוחנן, ועוצה מנה מרות רע. The pasuk said in Isaiah, and close his eyes from seeing evil. So since they use that for A'ain, you have to say מאמצין with A'ain. Next. Now we learn about the measurement of חלב. So, חלב, I'm sorry. So they said, המוציא, no, חלב. המוציא חלב של בהמה. תנו רבנן, המוציא חלב של בהמה. So if someone pull out milk of a pure animal, milk, in order to drink it. So what? So he said he's liable only for measure of equivalent to what? כדי גמיעה. So swallow in one gulp. חלב של אישה ולובן של ביצה. A woman milks and a white of an egg is what? Is equivalent to what is used, place apart, which is כדי לתת במשיפה של כינור כדי לשוב במים. In order to place the part of eye bandage, which you put it in a ointment for a wound. באי רבשי, כדי שיפה או כדי אחיזה ושיפה. So Ravashi asks a question, it's equivalent to what you can rub in both ways, or is equivalent to held and rub? So is the part of the bandage held in this hand when applying the bandage to his eyes also taken into account? So we said teiku. Teiku meaning we don't have a resolution, we're waiting for Tishbi, Tiretz, Kushiyot, V'ibayot. The same now you see another one, Dvash כדי לתת על הכתית. If you take a honey, is equivalent to that which used to place on a sore caused by chafing. So they said, Tana כדי לתת על פי כתית. The Tana said in תוספתא. The precise measure in equivalent to what is placed on the opening of a sore, which is the wound himself. באי רבשי על כתית הפומה דחולה כתית, או דילמה אמורה שקמה דחתית. Ravashi is a dilemma, it's opening of the entire sore or the primary tube of the sore. So it is said, להפוקי הורדנה דלה, to the inclusion of the surrounding area which is not spread honey. So you get it said, there's no resolution is taken. Now we go to the Agadeta. So since we talk about katit and healing and sores, so now we said something that is absolutely fascinating. אמר רב יהודה אמר רב, כל מה שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא בעולמו לא ברא דבר אחד לבטלה. So the Meiri said, and let me show it you word by word the Meiri, he said as follows, מפינות הדת ומיסודות האמונה הוא, the foundation of our faith, שלא לייחס לשם יתברך פועל הבטלה. That we never say that anything in this world created for no reason, just because in a way, like in our language, it's God has nothing else to do, so He created something that it doesn't have a meaning. It's like something with no purpose. ואף על פי שהרבה דברים נעלמו ממנו סיבת מציאותם. Even though there are many things that we do not know the cause of those, והוא שרשמו בסוגיה זו ואמרו, that's exactly what the sages said here, כל מה שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא בעולמו. Everything that God created in His world, לא ברא דבר אחד לבטלה. The Meiri said that God did not create anything in this world for no reason. Now here are the examples. Bara shablul lekatit. He created a snail as a remedy for a sore, which means that you put it on a sore and it's a heal. Bara zvuv letzira. He created a fly to be crushed and spread as a remedy for the wasp's sting. Yatush lenachash. He created a mosquito as a remedy for a snake bite. Venachash lachafafit, and he created the snake itself as a remedy for a skin rash. Usmamit leakrav, and he created it's called here jackal, as a remedy for the scorpion bite. Heiche avadle, the Gemara asks how a person implemented this remedy. Maitechada ukama, he brings two jackals, one black and one white. Vechada chivara veshalkeu veshayfale, and he cooked them and he spread the resulting ornament on the affected area. Fascinating. Tanu Rabbanan, the sages teach us in regard to this creation something absolutely great. They said Chamisha Eimothen. There are 5 dread, which means the dread that the weak cast over the mighty, which means they even there is something small created fear on the big one. Eimat Chalash ala Gibor, the weak. There's something. Number 1, Eimat Mavgia al Ari, which is the Mavgia, the dread of Mavgia, which is a small creature over the lion. What does that mean? The lion is the lion, but that this Mavgia is a creature that brings such a noise, makes such a noise that the lion hears that noise, he gets scared and he runs away. The second one, Eimat Yatush ala Pil, the dread of the mosquito over the elephant. Why? Because he can come to his nose, big elephant, and the elephant cannot pull him out. Number 3, Eimat Smamit ala Akrav, the dread of the gecko over the scorpion. Again, the same thing, that he come to his ear and the scorpion cannot pull it out. Eimat Snunit ala Nesher, the dread of the swallow over the eagle. So again, he can come under his wing and the eagle cannot open the wing, as much as he is great and big. Eimat Kilvit al Livyatan, the dread of Kilvit, it's a small fish over the well, which means because again it's come to his ear and the great well cannot pull it out. So what it teaches us? So the rabbis tell us something very fascinating. The Maharsha, the Maharal, Ritva, they all say the same thing, that it's an allegory to us, to our lives, that a person that does something that it's not right and is not making teshuvah, Hashem can use even small things like mosquito that it can harm even the most mighty person in the world. And is another thing, it's a reminder to a nation of Israel that even they looks very small and very weak among all the other nations, if they follow the path of the Torah and mitzvot, everyone else have respect for them. As we said when we finished putting the filling, we said, "Vera'u kol amei haaretz, ki shem Hashem nikra alecha, ve'yar'u mimecha." The Iyun Yaakov said that when the whole world see that the strength and the power by you observing Torah and mitzvot, they have a reverence toward you, they venerated you. So here, it's an example. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Maikra Hamavlig Shod Al Az. How do you know a proof for that? So they said in the book of Amos, chapter 5, very interesting sentence. They said, Hamavlig, he caused a destruction, Shod, to flesh upon the mighty. So it means that it's a lift, the downtrodden, the shadud over the mighty. That's so what is that? So the Meforshim said here several things. They said that that even the Leviathan, the whale, according to our sources, it's only 2 created originally. And yet, you see here that even the small fish can get it in ear and cannot pull it out. So it's all wants to tell us that this type of fear, it's created to show that big or small, it's all in the eye of the Lord. And in other words, if a person behaves properly, even as in the size of a small fly or mosquito, David and Goliath can make a difference if they follow the way of God. רב זירא אשכח לרב יהודה דאבה קראי הפיתחי דבי חמורה וחזה דאב ובדיחה דעתי. So Rav Zera saw Rav Yehuda that he was in a house of in-law, and he saw that his spirit is very high, he's in a very happy mood. So he used this opportunity, rare opportunity, to ask him a question. So he wanted to ask him a question in regards to animals. So he asked him, Amar le matame ize mesagan bereisha vehadar imrei. What is the reason? He started asking a question. Why do the goats walk in the front of the flock when the ewes follow? Which means everybody else follow the goats. Why is that? So Amar le kibriyato shebolam debereisha chashocha v'adar neora. That's the way God created the world. The beginning was dark and then it was light. So he said, why they have the tail and why the others it's not, they're not covered. So he said the reason for that is when we use their wool for us, then it's covered. When it's not, they don't have that merit. Third question, why the tail of the camel Hashem created him small, not big? So he said, Mishum de achal kisei, because he eat thorns. So what happened is, Hashem have compassion on him, so that those thorns will not stick on him. So it makes his tail small. Fourth, Maitam Torah aricha gnuvte. What is the reason that the tail of the ox is long? You have a long tail. So he said, Mishum de dair be'agmei u'bai lecharkushe bakei. Amazing. Because he is sometimes staying in the small rivers, in a place like muddy, those places, and it's filled of mosquitoes, so he can move his tail and they run away. He asked, what's the reason that the grasshopper antenna is soft? So he answered, Bishum de daira bechilfe, because they live in the plains among the grass. So and if the antenna was hard, it will said vikashin yada umitavra, it will break and the grasshopper will go blind. So when the grasshopper loses its antenna, is unable to move. The Amar Shmuel Hayman the Baal Lisme lekamtza shalofni lekarne. Shmuel said that one who seeks to blind the grasshopper should remove his antenna. So the minute you move the antenna, and he said that's make him blind, he cannot see. Next one, you see how the sages are smart, right? Maitama haitimra de tarnegolta midlei le'ai. Why? What's the reason that the chicken lower eyelids cover the upper one? So he said, the daire adape v'yael kutra mitavra dasha derech sham darga derech gar matkulita mata tichle da bo beita bo ve'tiva bikta be'akta. So he said few things. He said, number one, because when the chicken live in the rafter in the house, in that spot, so when if its smoke come from the house were to enter its eyes, so it's the eyelid is protection, so it's come from for the back, otherwise it will go blind. So he asked, why is the door called Dasha in Aramaic? So he said it's a like derech sham, it's mean there. Why is stair called Darga? It's a derech gag, which means that the way of the roof. Why they are a species called matkolita? So he said matai tikle, which means when it will finish. because it's a long time, these spices. Beta, why a house called Beta? He said it's acronym Bei Acta, which means come and I'll sit in. Why it's small house called Bikta? I'm sorry, Bove Tiba. Bikta Bei Acta. Why it's a small house called Bikta? Because the acronym of Bei Acta, which means narrow house. Kufta, why barrel is called Kufta? It says Kof Vetiv. It's turn it over and sit. Livnei, Livnei Bnei. Why bricks are called Livnei? Because there's illusion, it's a bricks. It's a go from one generation to the next. Hutza Chatzitza. A fence made of thorn is called Hutza. So he said it's a Chatzitza, which means a partition, as opposed to a true fence. Chatzba, a jug used for drawing water, it's called Chatzba because shechotzev mayim min hanahar, that it's chotzev, he whoos water from the river. A small jar, it's called kuza. Why it's called kuza? It says kazeh, which means give me one like that. And Rashi here say klomar, we're running out of time, but please read in my book Birah Klomar Barashi al Hashas, explain why it's that kuza, it's kazeh, it's a small jar. Shutita shtuta, myrtle branches which people dance at the wedding, it's called shutita. So it's an allusion to shtuta, which means madness, which means that they when you look at people dancing at the wedding, they look like they are mad, you know, madness, right? They appear that way. The large vessel is called mashkelita. It's a mashya kalta, which means that it washes all. Asita chasirta, the small vessel used for washing is called small vessel was mashkelita. So he said it's washes its bride. Immortal, it's called asita. Asita is alluded to the charsita, which means lacking. It's a large cavity. Buchna bova akane, which means a parcel that inserted is a mortar content called buchla. It's acronym to bova achane, which means come and I'll strike it. So again, it's all words, playing with word. Levusha lo busha. Its outer garments called levusha, which means that it's not covered. Gelima shenasebu kegolem. Glima, it's like a garment, outer garment. It's like it's like a golem-like figure. Golta, which means that you don't see anything, any part of the body. Golta glei ve'etiv. They use the word a beautiful coat is called golta, which means that reveal, remove the coat. So and only then I will sit. So the coat will not get dirty. Puya sheparim ve'ravim aleh. Bed is called puya because people are fruitful and multiple, procreated on it. Bor zinka, bor zenaki. Bor, it's called zinka, empty pit. It means that this pit is empty of water. Sudara, so why a covering of a Torah scholar is called sudara, which it means, they said in Psalms, Sod Assembly Rab, the counsel of the Lord is upon those who fear Him. Scholar. Apadna apitchedin. Place called Apadna, which is an acronym to this is the entrance all come. Tanu Rabbanan. Now it's a beautiful brighter. They said, Kol zman shlosha kol zman shemazkinim mosifim gvura. There are three type of animals that they grow in the old mightier of age. They become much mightier and strong. Which are they? Dag, a fish, venachash, and a snake, vechazir, and a pig. So all these three, the older, they became stronger. Shemen kedei lasuch ever katan. So we learn in the Mishnah that there is a measure, determined liability of oil. It's to spread a small limb. Amre devera yavi anai. שמן כדי לסוך עבר קטן של קטן בן יומו. That's applied to spread on a baby just born. מיטיבי. שמן כדי לסוך קטן עבר של קטן בן יומו, מעילה ועבר קטן דגדול ועבר גדול של קטן בן יומו. That's applied to what? To small limb of an adult or a baby one. So it's basically contradicted to what Rabbi Yanai said earlier. אמר לך דבר רבי ינאי, לא אחי כאמר שמן כדי לסוך עבר קטן של קטן בן יומו. So what I meant, it's the measure that determined liability for carrying out oil is equivalent to which used to spread on a small limb, and a small limb is a question that the old age, one day old child. Lema ketanai. Now we go to say parallel to the dispute between the Tanaim. Shemen, when we learn in different brayta that one who carries shemen from one domain to another, the measurement is kedei lasuch ever katan vekatan bin yomo, in order to anoint a small limb or a baby that's just 1 day old. Divrei Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar, that's what Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar said. Rabbi Yonatan Omer, Rabbi Natan said that the measure is kedei lasuch ever katan, in order to anoint a small limb. Ma'ila be'aka mifleged, Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar savar ever katan shel katan. Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar said that that's applied to the baby that's 1 day old. Rabbi Natan savar ever katan de gadol, which means a small limb, like a small pinky or small limb of adult, or ever gadol de katan, or a large limb of a baby, 1 day old. Aval ever katan shel katan ben yomo lo. However, a small limb of a 1 day old child, so you don't have it's exempt. So basically, what's come out that what Rabbi Yanai said, it's the same as Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar, and Rabbi Natan require a larger measurement. So they said no, lo, the kule alma, that everyone agrees that what they carry out in the oil in a measure equivalent to what is used to spread on what. Ever katan de katan ben yomolo, a small limb of a day-old child, no, it's exempt. Veleita de Rabbi Yanai, we just turned the page for a few lines. 78a, just the top of the page. Veleita de Rabbi Yanai, just to finish the sugya. So the opinion of the school of Rabbi Yanai is not accepted. Ve'acha be'aka miflegen, this is what's the disputation. Rabbi Shimon Lazar savar ever katan de gadol, the gadol the katan ben yomo, the limb is equal from both adult and baby. Rabbi savar ever katan de gadol ein, if it's a small limb of an adult, yes. Ever gadol the katan ben yomo lo, but it's some large limb of a baby, it's not. Maya ve'ala, what's we concluding? Tashma de Tanya, Rabbi Shimon Lazar omer shemen. We'll derive from that the oil kedei lasuch ever katan shel katan ben yomo. So they want to teach us that the measure that determines liability for carrying out oil is equivalent to that which is used to spread on a small limb of a day-old child. Several halachot we study today. Number 1, hamotzi yain. This is Rambam, Hilchot Shabbat, chapter 18. One who carries out undiluted wine. The measure that determines liability for carrying out wine into a public domain is equivalent to the wine diluted in a cup of blessing, which is the kiddush, which is minimally a quarter of a log wine. And we explained earlier the measurement of a log wine. Now, the yavesh, the situation that the measure of determined liability for carrying out congelated wine is an olive bulk, it's kezait. Dam nevela, the blood for an animal, keres is which is dead, is ritually pure by Torah law. If it is ritually impure by rabbinic decree, that is the status of other impure liquids. So that's basically the blood that's coming out, and we discussed it at length שיעורי חלב לעניין הוצאת שבת. Measure that determine liability for carrying out milk on Shabbat. So this is Rambam Hilchot Shabbat chapter 18. He said, it's also speak about honey. He says, when it's come to milk, the measure that determines liability for carrying out milk of a kosher animal on Shabbat is equivalent to which is a swallow in one gulp, which is less than a dry fig bark. The measure that determines liability for carrying out mother's milk is a measure equivalent to the place in a sensitive area of the eye for a treatment. That's also measure that determines liability for the white of an egg. Now, the dvash kedelitet al akatif, the measure that determines liability for carrying out honey on Shabbat, is equivalent to a place on a sore. So the halacha is unresolved, the dilemma that go by the more stricter opinion, as the case of that we said earlier. But basically, it shows you in Hilchot Shabbat that even that small size, it's make an obligation. Shemen kedei lasuch. So he said here, the measure that determines liability for carrying out oil on Shabbat is equivalent to that which is spread on a small limb, which is the toe of a day-old child. That's the statement of Rabbi Yanai, and that's the opinion of Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar. That ruling also reflected the simple understanding of this matter in Talmud Yerushalmi. So again, when we talk about a small limb, we should know that Rabbanai approach is the word katan has a double meaning. It's an adjective and it's a noun. Sometimes it means a small limb, and sometimes it means the limb of a child.
es Hashem